Hello, and welcome back to the mythological world in Warlords of Sigurdrifa. Humanity fights alien pillars with Odin's help, deploying Valkyries in vintage hero wings. Claudia, a renowned ace, joins Japan's Tateyama Valkyrie wing, expecting rejection but finding acceptance among her amazing comrades. She slowly finds out that there are much harsher meanings in the world and decides to fight them all to protect her friends. Make sure to subscribe and like for more. Strange phenomena called pillars threaten Earth, but an entity named Odin gives humanity a weapon to fight them. Valkyries, battle maidens flying vintage aircraft called hero wings. Claudia Bruford, called Sign Schwertlied, is the best in the European Valkyrie wing and has the nickname Grim Reaper. When Japan's ace is killed, she is transferred from Europe, suspecting it's because of her nickname. On her way to her new assignment, her transport is attacked by a pillar at sea. Before she can launch, three Valkyries, Anonym, Red, and Pink, join the fight, so Claudia remarks that they're like a circus before joining in despite their lack of coordination. She shows off her light skills, stalling the pillar until it breaks up. She arrives at Tateyama, her new base, where she meets Red, Muguruma Miyako, Water Eye Sonoka, Pink, and Komagoma Azuzu, Anonym. Man, these names are hard to pronounce. Claudia finds the base relaxed, even during alerts, and meets the skilled mechanics, and enjoys curry with Miyako and Sono, while Azu plays soccer with kids. Their fun is interrupted by reports of more pillars, so the Valkyries head out, with Claudia leading. A few pillars turn into dozens, and Azu reassures Claudia that her comrades see her as good luck, not an omen. They start battling, and when the pillar's core is exposed, everyone is out of ammo, so Miyako jumps out of her cockpit and swiftly slashes through the core with a katana, creating a giant floating tree. Claudia fears she's alone again, but Azu, Sono, and Miyako safely land in the tree. The girls happily return, and Claudia is welcomed to Tateyama Air Base, finding a place where she truly belongs and a supportive, loving family. After a lively welcoming party for Claudia, most of the base wakes up with hangovers, while Claudia sharpens her blade and remembers how her father told her to visit Japan once in her life because of how the samurai are unbreakable, unyielding men of pride, and the women are kind and graceful, striving to be ideal women. In present day, she remarks that she always yearned for the chance to visit this country and questions what is up with this base. Reality always sucks no matter where you are. Miyako barges in and says they should get together. Claudia meets up with Sono, watching her flowers in the morning before they all sit down together and start chatting before Claudia does a highly epic choreographic introduction, but they're interrupted by the Jaller horn, signaling a pillar alert. The Recon Squad heads out first, with Miko's blessing and a promise of breakfast upon their safe return. This pillar is more powerful than expected, indicating the enemy evolves with each defeat, and it renders an entire island unconscious. The Valkyries have just an hour to eliminate the threat, or the people will die. Early in the morning, Odin warns Claudia to not let her friends die, after which she heads to the dojo and tells Miyako that she uses it because her father, who lived in Japan, taught her a lot about Japanese culture. Miyako reveals that she grew up in a dojo with a strict upbringing. Her mom told her to learn housework because she was cute but dumb, so she took this to heart and can now cook breakfast for the entire base. Miyako also acts like a wife and mother to Azuzu, who struggles outside the cockpit or in the morning, and Miyako enjoys taking care of her, and Azu tries not to take it for granted. After breakfast, Azu gives Claudia, Miyako, and Sono a special mission: a disaster recovery assessment of Yumiharu, the shopping aisle they defended last week. Miyako hesitates, but Azu reassures her, and the assessment turns out to be a fun day out. They enjoy at arcades, and no one lets them pay because the Valkyries are seen as heroes. When Claudia asks about the assessment, Miyako explains that seeing people happy is the mission before Miyako runs into the crowd, asking how everyone is, and they respond enthusiastically. On the way home, Miyako gets a call from Azu and rushes back to base on a motorcycle as Claudia and Sono learn a recon team member is critically injured. Miyako silently helps soldiers pass away, a duty Azuzu avoids, so Claudia joins Miyako in this task, singing a soulful song to help with the soldiers' passing. Later, Miyako trains vigorously in the dojo, tears mixing with her sweat, and Claudia, feeling unworthy and weak, asks her how she's so strong. She admits she doesn't think she's strong at all and shares her secret of not being a picky eater, after which Claudia tries sashimi for breakfast and finds it delicious. The pillars have a new tactic, attacking in groups of 4. When one is struck by the Valkyries, the others revive it quickly. Meanwhile, the pillars emit a high-pitched sound that distracts Azuzu, leading to her getting hit and having to make an emergency landing before the pillar's signal knocks her out. After some rest, a meal from grateful civilians in Tateyama, and video footage from 3 kids, Azuzu realizes that the high-pitched signal is how the pillars communicate their need to regenerate, and they figure out they can disrupt the signal. However, they can't catch the pillars off guard by flying in directly because they're strategically positioned, with one always far from the others to widen their effective search range. The 3-man support wing comes up with a new plan for the Valkyries, approaching by sea. Since they'll be traveling by sea, everyone will need to dress accordingly. I think we all know what that means. After the Tateyama crew meets Valkyrie Amatsuka, Big Sis Yayoi, and her shield squadron, they all bathe together except for Sonoka, who seems to have issues with Yayoi. Amatsuka is usually sent to the most intense battles, and this time it's the Fuji primary pillar, which will be attacked shortly after it goes inactive, making Tateyama the stage for the final battle. Claudia and Azuzu visit Odin, who confidently beats Azuzu in a King of Fighter ripoff, after which he admits that Claudia was transferred here for the primary pillar fight because she's a named and Japan lost theirs. He adds that while her mind is a gem, she's mediocre as a Valkyrie, so it wouldn't be surprising if Azuzu stays a Valkyrie because of Miyako. The Tateyama 4 and Amatsuka Yayoi arrive at Iruma Air Base for the final battle against the Fuji primary pillar. They are joined by Valkyries and elite named from around the world, including Claudia's former comrades Lisbeth and Layli. Lisbeth seems upset because Claudia has found peace and friends at her new posting, likely because she misses her. Among the named present are the dancing goddess and the maid from hell. Odin's blessing means little to the many young Valkyries who have died, like Jingwuji, also known as Sakura Yayoi, and Sonoka's former squadmate. It's also revealed that in the battle where Jingwuji was killed, Yayoi sabotaged Sonoka's hero wing to prevent her from flying. The dancing goddess uses a 10-ton bomb from her large Lancaster to create a hole in the dormant pillar, allowing the other Valkyries to fly in and destroy its core. However, they find themselves in a trans-dimensional space inside the pillar, much larger than it appears outside. Inside the pillar, the Valkyries discover a graveyard of all those who died fighting it in the past. Back at the base, Odin ominously declares that the dead are coming. Inside the pillar, the forces encounter 2 unexpected threats: undead Valkyries like Jingwuji and Sakura piloting black hero wings, who are just as skilled as they were when alive. In the chaos, Harumi and Mo drift into the pillar while Okita orders a full retreat and evacuation, but Sonoka wants to help them, just like Claudia and the European Valkyries. Yayoi tells her that helping them is a named Valkyrie's duty, and she should obey the order to retreat, and Sonoka suspects Yayoi will abandon her again, but her hesitation almost proves she shouldn't be flying. She's hit by a black hero wing, losing a landing pontoon and falling unconscious. Meanwhile, Okita asks Odin about Thor, who says it's too soon to answer before activating his hammer Mjolnir, firing a massive green beam that destroys most of the airbase, command center, and anyone in its path. Sonoka wakes up in a field hospital bed surrounded by her comrades and Yayoi. Satomi arrives with the operations team, who evacuated before the beam destroyed Fuji's control tower, and reveals that Okita's final order was to regroup at an auxiliary site. Odin is missing, but it looks like this defeat went according to his plan. Yayoi asks for privacy with Sonoka and reveals there are still comrades in the pillar. She plans to rescue them, and despite the mission's suicidal nature and limited forces, Yayoi, being unnamed, has the freedom to sortie. After making up with Sonoka, Yayoi takes a locket with a photo of their old unit and gives Sonoka her safe flying charm, promising to return even if shot down. Claudia, Azu, and Miku join the remaining forces to render formal honors, toasting to Yayoi and her escorts good luck with Satomi's good trick. Yayoi heads into the pillar, but she and her escorts don't make it back. Only Lisbeth returns, barely managing to limp home in her hero wing. She gives Sono the locket back, saying it's the only thing she was able to bring back. Miyako, Satomi, the shield squadron, and the maintenance crew break through a barrier to access a hidden stash of equipment for the battle. 12 hours earlier at Shimafusa base, Satomi tells the Valkyries about this stash, hidden under Meinti no Kajuri for emergencies. Azu feels both frustrated and inspired by Miko's determination to keep fighting despite the increasingly desperate odds, but Sono is too traumatized by her last sortie and the loss of her Yayoi to get out of bed or climb into a cockpit. Satomi takes Azu aside to listen to a recording of General Akita's last moments, during which Odin mentions terms like Valhalla and Asgard. Azu isn't familiar with these terms, but their resident Northern European Valkyrie and Odin's favorite, Claudia, might be. Claudia visits Lisbeth, who recovers quickly, attributing her quick recovery to Odin's blessing despite his body being destroyed in the attack. Lisbeth is heartbroken to hear that Lily is dead, but shares Yayoi's last message, which states that Odin is hiding something and Claudia holds the key. When Azu asks her about it, she remembers Odin saying Valhalla's gate is always open to her as a gate appears in the corridor. What are all these names? Miyako, backed by her shield squadron, volunteers to take Takeyama back, while Azu and 3 escorts go with Claudia through the gate. As they walk through it and it closes behind them, Sono appears on her feet for the first time. At the sight of Miyako, she runs away, but Miko chases her down. Sono worries that seeing someone off brings bad luck, but Miko reassures her, saying there are ways for Valkyries to help even if they can't fly. As Claudia and Azu explore a grand, ornate, and otherworldly corridor, and Miko and the shields prepare to head out, Sono helps the civilian evacuation by helping at the outdoor canteen. There, 2 young pilots thank her for saving their lives, vowing to become strong like her. Claudia touches some rotating runes and starts to sing when a nasty-looking golem appears ready to attack. Meanwhile, Miko and her shield take out several smaller pillars on their way to Takeyama. However, there are too many, and they eventually merge into a larger pillar that envelops Miko's hero wing. She finds herself flying through an otherworldly plane of giant gears and strange currents. When the Jallarhorn sounds, indicating the pillars are heading towards Shimafusa, Sono urges the evacuees to stay calm, but one civilian woman collapses, suddenly going into labor. Sonoka approaches her hero wing but collapses from fear and anxiety as the guys take off in their fighters, assuring her they've got this. Despite Miko's efforts to destroy the tertiary pillars or the secondary's core, they regenerate almost immediately. In Odin's extra-dimensional temple, Claudia fights off golems. One of their escorts is seriously injured, and Azuzu freezes after realizing something. The injured soldier sacrifices himself to buy time for the others to escape, so Claudia slaps Azuzu to snap her out of her paralysis, telling her that she must return to Tateyama with her knowledge. Meanwhile, back at the base, the pillars are approaching, and a pregnant civilian woman has gone into labor. The doctors refuse to abandon her and try to move her to safety. Witnessing these ordinary heroes, Sono remembers Yayoi's advice to look in her charm if things get overwhelming, inside which she finds a handwritten note from her. Odin announces through a hacked video feed at an international summit that he has equipped humanity with weapons, a motive, and enemies to fight, so it must now resist their destruction, as Ragnarok, from his perspective, is still coming. Miko sees that Sono appears stronger after Yayoi's passing and suggests proceeding with Tateyama's summer festival despite the crisis, so Claudia goes with Satomi on public relations events to gather support for the upcoming battle. Azuzu feels overwhelmed, believing she's the only one observant enough to understand that losing the next battle spells doom for humanity. When Miko wakes her with a yukata for the festival, Azu angrily questions how anyone can think of festivities now and runs away frightened. Miko searches for her as Sono shelters Azu, but explains that everyone agrees with her, so now is the time to celebrate and create memories, because after the next battle, memories might be all that remain. Miyako finds Azuzu at her usual spot by the sea where she apologizes for her weakness. Miyako reassures her, saying crying doesn't mean she's weak, and they acknowledge the possibility that they might die, but Miyako promises they'll be together and says she'll wake her in heaven for breakfast, after which they make up with each other and join Claudia and Sono for the festival. Why does this feel like the calm before the storm? The festival is a success, with everyone enjoying the festivities. Miyako invites Azuzu to her hero wing for a fireworks display during the water lantern ceremony, and Claudia feels a sense of belonging, adding her voice to Miyako and Azuzu's display, while slowly breaking down. Claude wakes up while the other Valkyries are starting their day. Miyako does her morning training, Azuzu is still asleep, and Sono is caring for her sunflowers. Just like the Valkyries, the new recruits, experienced soldiers, Satomi, and his command staff haven't won yet, but they're confident in their skills. They believe in Azuzu's intelligence and humanity's commitment to fighting the Fuji Pillar. Odin, in his cave, confidently watches the battle on his TV and offers Claudia a chance to join him, but she attacks him with her sword instead. Azuzu's plan is to keep the four of them, the most powerful weapons humanity has, out of the fight until necessary. Things go smoothly, with the new recruits and experienced soldiers making progress before the Valkyries take over. Despite their advancements, Odin isn't worried since he relies on his zombie Valkyries and Thor with his hammer. Azuzu wonders if she's really a god, but Claudia says this won't be enough to break Odin before the first hammer attack strikes, and they quickly evade. Odin remarks that it looks like their base is well defended, so Azuzu remarks that that's obvious because she is the head of strategy. He says their neurotic level planning has been truly splendid, but it all ends now. He starts showering lightning and declares that the coming of Ragnarok is upon them. As Mjolnir is recharging, Odin begins Ragnarok, so Miyako tells him to apologize while he still can. Furious, he unleashes waves of attacks on them, but Claudia declares that this is nothing because they were prepared to fight God. He says she'll be the last one alive in this scorched battlefield. Claudia suddenly has a vision as he shows her a world consumed by flames in which her friends and family are lost. The other girls start firing at Thor, but it starts to get serious, so they drop a giant missile on it as Claudia tells Odin that she refuses to end up like him. He tells her that no person can heal your loneliness, but she interjects and says she finally understands that he's a god who cannot acknowledge his own defeat, a god who refuses to accept his solitude. She breaks free from his vision and starts singing as Azuzu gets ready to rush in and get the Vandramp while the others attack Thor. Claudia uses the turfing Odin gave her to attack him and rushes forward, declaring that she doesn't want to lose her friends and families before bidding him farewell. Miyako wonders how she can take down Thor, so the guys offer to sacrifice themselves, hearing which she thanks them and rushes forward, successfully destroying Thor. Azuzu arrives at the core of the pillar and asks Odin why he refuses to give in, declaring that she still believes in her hero as Miyako rushes in and slashes through the core of the pillar with her katana, after which the pillar and Odin disappear, and Satomi declares that the war is over and humanity has won. After joyously returning to the Tateyama base, the girls mourn Ranj, Kinpatsu, and Gurisen. Shrewd Jivich adds, these were the real unsung heroes. Sometime later, the girls cheerily give the new recruits a tour of the base and launch off into the sky again. Thanks for joining us on today's journey. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and hit the bell to stay updated. Until next time, stay curious and keep reading Norse mythology.